Hello and welcome, this is rooflemonger, and in this edition of Let's Learn Mortal Kombat, I want to talk about the concepts of the neutral and the concept of footsies. So I've been noticing a lot of people who are newer to fighting games in general, or just, this is their first fighting game ever, they're having a lot of struggle with the concepts, either just, applying it in a match, or just, what do these words even mean, right? So hopefully this video will address both of those things. So let's deal with neutral first before anything else. So what is neutral? Neutral is basically when you're both vying for positioning and just trying to get an edge over the enemy here. So you're not in each other's faces, just, scrambling at each other, and neither are you necessarily full screen, whipping fireballs at each other and all that kind of fun stuff. This is basically when you're just kind of fishing for positioning. In this game, neutral is much more important than previous Mortal Kombat entries because you have a lot more defensive options as a player. Things are a lot more reactable. So if you say, screw it, I just want in, and you jump in non-stop like a madman, odds are they're probably going to uppercut you out of the air for free, and then boom, once again, we're back in the neutral. So there's a lot of ways to deal with the neutral. A lot of characters, like as we said before, you just want to jump in because say your character strengths are much more suited up close, like you're a mix-up character or something, or say you don't want to be neutral, like say you're Cetrion or something, you want to be a little further away to get your fireball game going. But for a lot of characters, the best way to win in neutral, when no character has really a distinct advantage over the other, is through footsies. And now, what are footsies? So what is the concept of footsies? Well, the basic concept is simply, you want to attack the enemy at the kind of tip of the effective range of your basic attacks here. So we use 4-2 here for Collector as our base. And as you see, I just missed, so I want to be a little closer, but I want to hit him at the exact tip of this move here. No reason to get closer, because the closer I get, the more you can smack me in the face, right? So I want to hit him at the effective tip of the move and get not one bit closer, and the idea of kind of spacing him out, right? And that's where footsies gets, very layered and very in-depth, because there's going to be a lot of stuff going on here. So now, since we're talking about using Collector's 4-2-2 here, and the idea of spacing him out and all that kind of stuff, and attacking him at the effective range of our move, so in this particular matchup, and I chose these characters for a reason, we kind of run into a little bit of an issue here, because Kabal has back 1-2 here, and that move has more range than my move, right? So if I'm trying to get in and poke him out, well then he can literally poke me out better than I can with my move that I chose, right? So then we have to counterplay, because now all of a sudden you would think, well, my back's to the wall, right? His move has more range than my move, so how am I supposed to poke him at the range of my moves if his moves are longer? And then we got to think, well, in this specific scenario, because once again we have Collector, well, I have a longer range move than that too, right? So I can just poke him before he can poke me. So I can attack him from an effective range that he cannot reach me. So once again, it's on him to kind of get in my range because I have a longer range move than he does. So now let's keep the layers going. So we have learned on the first layer here, Kabal can actually outrange the Collector, and thus Collector kind of has to move to his stand 4 move, as it'll outrange Kabal, right? So Kabal, if he wants to get in here and hit his buttons, he's going to get smacked, right? But then we got to go to the new concept of Whiff Punishing. So now, me as Kabal now, I know I'm risking getting smacked trying to get into the range of my back 1-2, right? Because Collector will just outrange me. So what I want to do now is I want him to bait him into the move and let him commit to it, as there's a bit of windup, as you can see here. And as soon as I see him commit to it, then boom, I can use my next move here. I have the Nomad Dash, and I'll do that, and I can punish him now. And then I can get, a little bit of damage. And this is going to be different character to character, right? But so the idea is I want to bait him into it. I want to walk into his effective range and then have him go for the attack. And then I want to walk out, and then I want to punish the move he's doing. So when a character is outranging you, it's not the end of the world, If you are able to enforce your game plan, then fantastic. If you're the one able to attack at the tip of the long range move, and it's going to be longer than the enemy, that's great, that's fantastic. Try to enforce it, right? But when you're the one being outranged, what you want to do is kind of just bait it out. You want to walk into that effective range, and then quickly walk out and let the enemy go for it. And since they're going to be whiffing their move, you have a lot of time to react with a fireball. It could be a special like the Nomad Dash you have. It could be a jump. It could be whatever. It's all dependent character to character, right? But there's multiple layers to this, and if you're not in the immediate winning end of the range, it doesn't mean you're out of options. So now let's take this to its logical conclusion here and just kind of wrap up the circle. So if I know the other guy is just trying to walk in and out, trying to bait me into whiffing my moves and all that kind of fun stuff, then how do I deal with that? And then the answer is just, hey buddy, stop doing what you're doing here. I'm gonna whip stuff at you, right? Stop walking around and engage me, right? And you can do that. You can even be a little bit bold, right? You can try to dash in, try to throw them, or dash in and use the original normals to begin with, right? That are usually going to be much quicker than the more longer range moves that might dominate the footsies conversation. The enemy, no matter what, if they're just walking around trying to bait stuff, you can always stop them from doing stuff, right? You always have the options on the table. Everyone has something to work with. So going back to the concept of neutral, no matter how you engage in neutral, be it with footsies as we talked about, or proper space control using projectiles or stuff like that, or maybe even stuff to bypass neutral, which we'll talk about a little bit in a second here. The concept of controlling neutral, no matter how you interact with it, is generally what kind of separates good players from great players, and novice players from intermediate, all that kind of stuff. As anyone can get in and say you force you into a 50-50 combo, the 50-50 is the 50-50, right? It's the coin flip. The coin flip is what determines whether the guy gets hit or not. No, it's not your general skill. But when it comes to the control of the neutral, it's basically going to be, for the most part, just your fundamentals, right? And the fundamentals is the core strength of pretty much any fighting game player. So the the player rather, with the stronger fundamentals, generally speaking, will have a better time of it in neutral, matchup depending, right? Because certain matchups definitely change how things work. And speaking of that now, let's talk about some characters that kind of get around neutral. So let's take a character like Scorpion. So Scorpion, when we talk about neutral and footsies, he's really strong. When it comes to footsies, he has stuff like back one forward. It's really, really good. He has a lot of range to work with. And so in that concept of the footsies, he's really good. He's got the range. That's fantastic. And one of the things that's really good is the old teleport. I'm sure you guys know all about it. So when it comes to that whiff punishing stuff we talked about, basically nobody's better than Scorpion, because he doesn't have to be anywhere near you. You can be whiffing like an uppercut from full screen, and he's like, cool, gotcha, He doesn't have to deal with a lot of those concepts. And honestly, especially with this variation here, he can do a lot of stuff to just quote-unquote bypass the neutral. He can still play footsies, he can still bait you out and do all that stuff fantastically. But when he's getting frustrated and say he's the one who wants in, he can't get in, he's only ever one rando teleport away from doing what he wants to do, right? Or a teleport cancel, right? So a character like this is what we would call bypassing the neutral. So if Scorpion doesn't want to earn his way in, getting in on you, correct spacing, all that fun stuff, he doesn't have to. He can just go, whoa, go crazy and get in. Now, obviously, you can block it, right? But that's one thing that works in his favor in the terms of neutral, because every time, say, you just jump up backwards, right? The enemy, if they're smart, generally has to go like, whoa, hang on a second, right? He might do the thing, so I gotta stop, right? And then you're kind of just dominating his mindset, and once the threat of the teleport is established, the more they're gonna sit and block, and the more you can get away with, your footsie strings, the more you can get away with really crazy stuff like a dash up into a throw. The more a move like this is abused, the more it's gonna dominate how the enemy thinks, and then all of a sudden the stronger your neutral gets, because the more they're gonna be frozen in place trying to wait for the teleport to block, and the more they're blocking, the more they're not doing anything. Now, another concept of bypassing neutral to a degree I want to show off is Raiden. So Raiden, obviously, is not as strong as Scorpion, right? But he does have the old teleport, right? And the teleport, you can control a lot of aspects of where he shows up and all that kind of fun stuff. And one thing about Raiden is, generally speaking, when you're in the neutral, vying for control of the screen and footsies, if you're succeeding, you're generally pushing the enemy back, just from the threat of your options, right? The more they fear your options of neutral and all that stuff, the more they want to walk back, either try to whiff punish you or just to get away from your options, right? And for Raiden, him walking back and, doing stuff like whiff punishing or whatever, right? It's a little stronger than a lot of characters, because Raiden effectively never runs out of screen. Because even if Raiden himself has become cornered, he never, he's in the corner here, right? He's never cornered, right? So he can just as easily be in the corner, and as long as he's not actively blocking a move or something, he can just teleport out and start walking to the other end, right? So a character like Raiden can bypass the neutral, and he doesn't necessarily have to suffer the full consequences of walking backwards all the time, trying to whiff punish or just get something in his favor, right? Because Raiden rather, he's a really strong character, and if you miss any move, at the very minimum, it's a free Superman, right? If you miss any move in front of him. So let alone more practical combos and that kind of stuff. So A character like Raiden can sort of bypass neutral stuff, only in that he doesn't have to take the consequences of walking back non-stop as much as other characters do. So, with all that said and shown off, I hope this guide helped you to understand the concept of neutral and just footsies in general in Mortal Kombat 11. There's obviously so many layers and so many character-specific examples I go into, but then this video would be hours and hours long. So I hope that covers the basics for you. And at the very least, hey, if you didn't know the terminology, hey, by now at the end of the video, now you should. Anyways, that's it for me. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Mortal Kombat.